Okay, let's go for this. Thanks, Lawrence. Well, hello everyone. My name is Agustin Pelaez, and this is David from the leadership of our IoT applications engineer. And I'm very excited to be here. Hopefully, I can already see a lot of familiar names and faces. Hopefully next year we'll do this similar session in person. So with that, let's jump into the presentation and see what we have for today. Awesome. So today we'll be talking about how to monitor your LoRaWAN gateways and nodes with the ThinkStack and Ubidots. We believe that a network and its devices both are equally important when it comes to quality in front of your clients. For those of you who might not be familiar with Ubidots, we are mostly known within entrepreneurial circles and system integration circles as one of the most affordable yet flexible and powerful platforms to deploy entire IoT application experiences in just a few clicks. Or how I like to say it, our job is to enable beautiful dashboard so you can take all the credit in front of your clients. Our typical customer looks like an IoT entrepreneur that is just getting into IoT. They develop or they solve a specific problem within a region, and suddenly they realize they can go to market and they can create an entire business out of their creation. And also system integration teams or companies that are basically getting into IoT and transforming entire industries through these solutions. But most importantly, we have a track record. We've been around for a few years. Our community has over 100,000 members already. We have a free product, and this is what has fueled this community. And also in the B2B side, there's over 400 companies, businesses in 80 different countries using our product on a day-to-day basis. And for those of you who are already familiar with Ubidots, don't worry, we have exciting things to share. We're announcing general availability of Ubidots plugins. It's something that up until today was only available for our paid customers, but because of all this feedback, we heard that it would be great to use this plugins methodology, which we will see in a bit, to integrate with LoRaWAN network servers. So that's why we thought, well, if we're doing that, we might as well open it up for the rest of the public and create a way to receive also a lot of valuable feedback. But first of all, a quick check on why we did this. First off, we are all accustomed to, of course, the Internet of Things. It is a great means to merge, how I like to call it, the digital with the physical by using sensors and actuators to interface with the real world. But the more use cases we saw, the more we realized that a lot of this data already resides in the digital domain, be it in the form of a spreadsheet, for example. Think about an operator in a production line that's logging the amount of produced units every shift. It's more common than you think. I've been at customer meetings where they show me the laptop where they have an Excel opened up, and then the operator has to manually do a lot of things and then take it to a database, to a system. It could be also on data sets, on our public APIs. There are hundreds of APIs that are either public, free, or paid for that are already logging a lot of interesting data, be it energy prices, stock prices, why not, precipitation, weather data, etc. So we thought it would be great to make it very simple to pull this into Ubidots. And also, there's a lot of progress in satellite technology, and the more sensors that are equipped into satellites, the more granular data and the more resolution we will begin to see in this type of data sets. The problem is this data think about the soil moisture levels across the world, which is real. There are satellites measuring this. Sometimes they reside, or it resides in a large 10 gigabyte data set that neither you or I will take the time to disassemble, download, and then take the specific bit that we need. So with plugins, we're also making it very easy to pull data from these various sources. So as a quick intro, this is how it looks. Here, I'm literally dropping a virtual weather station in Redwood City. Just as I said, 3 clicks, click on devices, and there you have it. Full weather station with temperature data, pressure, wind speed, wind direction. And then, of course, the more plugins we add, the more data you will be able to grab and to enrich your IoT application and that of your customers. So we thought, well, what a better way to announce this than creating a plugin specifically for you guys, for this conference, for a lot of, it's an idea that a lot of people has expressed, the deployment of LoRaWAN. It's great that you can grab a gateway and put it in a farm in the countryside and then don't depend on the coverage of your cellular provider. But this also means that you need to keep an eye on the gateway. So we developed this plugin to monitor your TTI gateways in just a few clicks. Before that, I'm going to give it on to David, who will be giving us a quick refresher on how to integrate any LoRaWAN device through the Things stack to Ubidots. And then I'll take over again to see how the plugin works. So thank you, David, for being here.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Agustin, for the introduction. I'm really excited to be here again as last year's, and hoping with all my heart that we will see each other next year in person. Now, as we told you, we are going to make a little refresh about Ubidots integration with the Things stack. To that end, we will be using these devices from Wireless. This is the new Ubilux hardware platform that is basically a development hardware platform that allows you to build hardware on top of a basic board. In this case, we have the Ubilux base that allows us to connect different blocks. Then we have the Wireless chipset and MCU, and at the end, a sensor which consists of temperature, humidity, pressure, and gas resistance for air quality monitoring. So the basic workflow here will be as follows. We have our LoRaWAN device, in this case, the Ubilux. Then we have our webhook created in the Things stack industries. And then at the end, data will be sent to Ubidots, first to our Ubi function, our functions as a service module that will allow us to decode the data and convert it into an Ubidots compatible JSON. At the end, we will send the data to your account, where you will be able to create beautiful and neat dashboards. So with no further ado, let's jump back to our Ubidots account. And this is the result we are going to get at the end. We have 4 variables: temperature, pressure, gas resistance, and humidity, and then historical trace data from these variables in our headquarters. Now, let me just show you how I did this. In your TTS account, under the applications, we are going to go to Ubidots Playground. And in the left panel, you'll see what I have here: integrations and then webhooks. I'm going to create a new one. And there are many options here, many types. I'm going to select Ubidots, of course. And this is as simple as filling out these 3 fields. The first one will be the webhook ID, or the name. I'm calling it TTI Ubidots. Second, our Ubidots username from our account. In this case, ours is LoRaWAN functions. And then TTS asks us to input our Ubi function name. So to that end, we will jump into our Ubidots account, in the devices dropdown, and of course in the functions option. I'm going to create one from scratch, name it. This is going to be called TTI integration. I'm sorry, TTS, the Things stack. I'm going to make it a post, and remember, this is the method upon which the Ubi function is going to be triggered. And at last, I'm going to select my runtime to Python. One last step is just simply deleting this example code. I'm going to input the following that is simply going to print all of the arguments coming from TTS into our Ubi function. This is only to prove that data is coming in to our Ubi function. I'm going to make it live. There is a couple of confirmation procedures. Continue here, and then OK. And as you notice, the HTTP endpoint URL just became available. So I'm going to copy it, open another tab, and what TTS is expecting from us is exactly this one at the end, TTS-integration. So I'm going to copy it, go back to TTS, and paste it. That's as easy as it is. Create Ubidots webhook. And while the Ubi function gets deployed in our service, I'm going to show you how the live data is coming from our rack wireless device, as I have it here, every 20 seconds or so. So let's give it up for a few seconds. It should be any minute now that we will see this table update with new feed, okay? So it should be 20 seconds. And there you go. I hope you saw that. And what this means is that our function should be already triggered. So let's go to the logs. And it hasn't been deployed yet. So let's give it just some more seconds. And while I do that, I'm going to show you the new guide we created to integrate this switch block device to Ubidots. Okay, so what we need here is our function that will decode the data coming from this device. And this is located right here. So I'm going just to copy all of this from bottom to top. There we go. I will have it in my clipboard right now. And what I want to check now is that I have an execution already. And we do. So we now know that TTS is actually sending data to Ubidots. What I'm going to do now is replacing all this code with the one I just copied. And the only thing I need to do here is pasting a Ubidots token here at line 8. You can find that in the API credential section. Copy the default token and simply paste it down there. Once again, I'm going to make it live, and this will deploy the new changes to our function. To show you how the payload is decoded, the binary data, we are using bitwise operations right here in this function, parse TTI data. So as I just told you, we are using bitwise operations to decode the data, and then while at the same time building our Ubidots compatible JSON that is going to be sent to Ubidots and finally get our data into our account. Now, if we go to the dashboards, we will probably see how this is going to update our widgets in real time every 20 seconds. Let's just give it 1 second for the dashboard to load. And I think that there we have it. It's going to be updated every 20 seconds. And the ultimate goal with Ubidots and the toolkit we are providing is actually building your own white label application. And that's what I want to show you right now. This is just a dummy application we created with a custom domain, as you can see here on the top, a custom logo and colors that allows us to brand our application. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this integration and you believe it's as simple as we think it is. Now I'm going to give it back to Agustin, who will be showing the new TTI NOC plugin, Network Operations Center, to monitor your gateway's statisticals. So yeah, Agus.
Thank you, David. So let's get back to the presentation. So as we said at the beginning, we think that, well, based on the experience with lots of customers, when something goes wrong, your customer is not interested to know whether it's the device, whether it's the platform, whether it's a connectivity. They just want things to work. So it makes just a lot of sense from your side as a provider to monitor not only your devices, but also the backbone of what's going on, and in it, of course, the gateways. So we created this. This is kind of what we envision, allowing you to have this network operation center, even if you have just a few gateways, just be able to create a dashboard very rapidly to keep an eye on your deployment. So let's see how it looks like. First off, when going back to, the Ubidots, here you can see a new tab. Even if you're a STEM user, you will have a new option here called plugins. So if I go there, I will be able to see just a few of the plugins that we already support. Again, we'll be adding more in the future. And here you have the thing stack. So we'll be sharing a link with all the instructions on how to do this properly. You can see them here as well. If I click on next, then it's going to ask me for the TTI server. Currently, it's only tested in the main deployment, which is EU1. Here, you would put your API key. I just created one for the sake of the demo. And because it's plugins is a serverless environment, so it's actually running outside our core deployment. So we need to give it a token so that you can control the rate limit, avoid hitting rate limits, and also kind of keep your deployment more organized. And here you can select how often you like to pull the gateway data from the thing stack, and boom, there you have it. You just created a monitor for your gateways. Now, it usually takes about a minute. Because I have one running already, I'm gonna skip that part and go straight to the results. So after you do this and you wait for the script to go to the API v3 and pull each one of your gateways, you will see an icon like this popping up with the gateway information. So if I click on this one, the one I have right here, clearly I just dropped a random pin in Europe. We'll see why in a bit. And just you see here, we're pulling the location for you. We're pulling the description, even the frequency plan, gateway EUI, and a lot of the metadata that's already been sent, already exists in TTS. We have a few variables. Two of them are counters, which are useful to know whether a packet was missed or not. A status, which is just a binary variable, 1 when online and 0 when offline. And then 3 variables that just gives you sort of the timestamp of something. It will always be equals to 1, because what we're interested here is the timestamp. In this case, when the gateway was connected. It's a lot of data that you already have in TTS, but you don't really have the historical data. So it's very useful, even for audit purposes, when something goes wrong, keeping track of this. Once it's in Ubidots, you can keep it for years and go back in time and say, hey, there was a glitch here, it was my fault, or it was not my fault, and we're gonna do something about it. And the cool thing about having all of your devices and its raw data into Ubidots is you can do a lot of interesting things. Today, we'll only be looking at dashboards because it's, we could stay for hours just looking at every single feature. But here, I created myself a monitoring dashboard that includes a map. So here, I'm showing all the devices. In this map, I created a group. It's a concept called device group. It's just a way to tell the widget to only show a list of devices and not my entire deployment. I can also set a custom logic, which in this case, remember that status variable we talked about, 1 or 0? Well, here, that's what creates that effect of actually seeing it online or not visually. And then also what really enables, or what really means for us, the term application enablement, is being able not to decide how your application looks like, but also how it behaves. And that's why we're gradually adding like action features to all of our widgets, so you can decide what happens. In this case, when I click on it, I'm going to set the dashboard device, so every widget populates the data. And if I double click, it's going to go to that device. So if I click on a specific gateway, you'll see that all of the widgets will automatically upgrade or update to match this device. This one is going solid. I can see this status variable. This one has a few glitches, and the one I have here also had a few glitches. So it very rapidly I could decide, which gateway needs more attention or not. And to prove that how flexible it is, we even created a table here that looks a lot like the data you would have in TTI, which is the device name and all the properties. But again, you're free to decide, which other columns you want to add, be it another device property or just a final value of your gateway. So before we wrap it up, there's a very cool thing. Sometimes, we're talking about solopreneurs or small teams, or just, that network operator center that we showed in the picture, that's actually NASA. Of course, you saw that. So we might not want to do like an entire TV and keep that on all the time. We want our deployment to work for us even while we are away. And that's what events are for. So here I created an event tied to a device group that monitors a specific label, in this case, the status, which is cool because you can have 1,000 devices and you don't have to create 1,000 events. It's something dynamically done. And here you can set a lot of different triggers, SMS, voice calls, etc. We created this in Dutch. In case you're wondering what it says, it says like, this is an automatic message saying that this gateway is offline, and then we create here the name. Please keep enjoying the event. So we can select a different language if you want it. And here it's just going to ring my Google Voice number. And I can also tell it to call me again when everything is okay. And that's it. I'm going to go ahead and unplug my gateway and see what happens. Grab my phone here. It would usually take about a couple of minutes. There it is. Because we have to see in TTI if the gateway is actually offline. It's sort of a polling mechanism. So we will have to see when this updates. It's this gateway over here. Usually takes a few seconds. And then when it appears as offline in V3, then in Ubidots, remember we have a minute check as well. So it might take another minute before we see it offline in Ubidots. So while we wait, let's open it up for questions and enjoy the rest of the talk. Just sharing some of your comments and see if you have any question. So I think if you have any questions, I'm gonna check the chat. Oh, there you go. I'm getting the phone call right now. Let's see first of all how it works.
Hallo allemaal. Dit is een automatische gesproken melding die u laat weten dat de volgende gateway offline is. Tabhubs of Laurens Home Office blijft genieten van het evenement.
Okay, yeah. So that's Dutch. I didn't understand it either, but we thought it should match the conference language, even if we're not in Amsterdam. This is the moment where you would usually clap your hands if we were in a big audience, but well, maybe next year. Cool. I see some name. I see a question. Can I use these steps with TTI? Good question. So currently it's only available for TTI because of the API capabilities. The V3 API is just very powerful. It allowed us to build this plugin without bothering the TTI team. I mean, I'm sure Lawrence got a lot of different emails about other things, but it's just the power of the API. I'm not sure if it has. It's calling me again because now it's off online. So yeah, it's a matter of the API. If there was a TTN API to query the gateways, we could do this in a week. And please, we'll leave some links here so you can join the conversation in our community and just let us know what you think. So let's see if there are other questions. I'm dropping here a link. What restrictions, if any, do you have on data types that can be displayed? Okay, so the main data type in Ubidots is numerical value. Could be a float, or I mean, it's always stored as a float, but you can choose to display it as an integer. That's we don't support like a string upfront. But what we do is that in each data point in Ubidots, you can add a key that's called context. So the context is just an arbitrary set of key value pairs that you can choose them to be whatever they are. So here, the reason I was able to show the offline or online of the gateways is because I was sending a data that is not a numerical one. I'm sending, actually, I'm sending a string that says offline or online. Showing you real quick. Let's just pick this one here. Status. I send 1 or 0, but I also send this context, which allows me to show that in the table later on as well. Cool. So let's see if there are any other questions. So restrictions of the STEM version, only one plugin for now. Keep in mind, this is a serverless environment. So every second that this is running, even if it boots up and shuts down every minute, is going to cost us a few cents. So this is kind of an effort that we're doing on the developer marketing side. Up to 3 devices for free. You can send emails, you can send SMS and voice calls, but that will cost you just a few bucks. You can recharge your account, and that way you can make sure that you pay something that is not recurrent, but only when you need it. Can I point my gateway directly to Ubidots instead of TTN? So that's a two-sided answer. First is we're not a LoRaWAN network server, so if you're referring to, handling the frequencies and all of this, it's not possible. But David, if you're referring to, sorry, this is David Seaman, if you're referring to monitoring directly from the gateway, in theory, if you're able to grab all of this metadata internally, for example, here I have a multi-tech, it's a Linux box. So if you were able to run a script here and to send data over Python, then yes, you can definitely send us data directly from your gateway. Thank you all for your kind words, and I'm very happy that you like the presentation. Can I use Ubidots as a primary packet decoder and then Ubidots send parse data to an application? Yes, that's a great question. It's happening a lot with LoRaWAN network servers in the sense that you are decoding at the LoRaWAN network server side and then decode it again at the application enablement side. So we are working on a new plugin that will allow you to create these decoders more automatically on Ubidots side. So that means that ideally you would pass, just as David showed, you would pass the payload as is from your LoRaWAN network server and then decode it in Ubidots. Why? You don't want to run 2 decoders. It just adds more complexity to the process. And 2, we have also a Python environment. So the cool thing about Python is that you can, for example, just use NumPy, or you can use more advanced libraries for timestamp manipulation, for JSON data manipulation. So let's see, is there a way to parse my own custom data plugins? Yes, so we will have one new plugin that exposes the part of the code to decode your function. That way, we will be able to offer also decoding capabilities to our STEM users, even though the STEM users do not have the Ubi functions model. So that's coming up as well. And then I saw another one. Can I create custom plugins for automatic provisioning of devices? Good one. This is very good. So the cool thing about the plugins is that they are created by a separate team at Ubidots, which means that we completely divided it in a way that they could potentially be developed by anyone in our community tomorrow. So plugins come in different flavors. Today, we're talking about pulling data from third-party sources, but they also come in 3 other flavors: events, widgets. So you will be able to code your own widgets and expose them and share it with the rest of the Ubidots community. And as following up Maria's questions, as a way to provision devices. So if you have a device and you want this form not to ask for a token, but maybe to ask for a QR code, serial number, and then click, and then you run a specific function to provision a device, it will be possible. So we're repeating this session. Sorry, Daniel King had another question. What are the gateways restrictions for the NOC service? It's basically everything that's replied by TTI API. So if there's data that's not available in the API, we cannot do a lot about it because we're just integrating directly through the API. And by the way, we'll be repeating this session again later in the day. I don't have the exact time in CET, but you can check it in the event schedule. And in case you want to refer it to someone, and please stop by our booth. We have a booth, so always happy to hear what you're working on. Thank you very much, guys and girls. Bye-bye. Ricardo Jorge asked, sorry, other programmer languages besides Python? Yes, the runtime supports Node.js and Python 3.7. Bye-bye.